Hey guys, what's going on? MJ Madness here, and the NBA playoffs are finally here. So with the bracket set, today I'm going to be giving you my complete NBA playoff preview and predictions, breaking down each series from the first round all the way up to the NBA Finals. So without further ado, let's get things started in the Eastern Conference with our very first matchup, pitting the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks against the 8th seeded Orlando Magic. Now, the Magic may have a bit of an advantage playing in their home city, but I don't think that'll matter very much against a dominant Milwaukee Bucks team. The Bucks are a juggernaut, and I think they'll have no trouble with the Magic. I think Milwaukee will sweep. I'm taking the Bucks in 4 games. The next series has the 4-seeded Indiana Pacers up against the 5th-seeded Miami Heat, and this could be one of the closer series of the first round. After the NBA restart, the Pacers were one of the NBA's better teams, led by an exciting and breakout performance from TJ Warren, but I think they may have met their match in a solid, well-coached Miami Heat team, who I think will be able to pull off a slight upset and knock off the Pacers in 6 games. The next matchup has the 3-seeded Boston Celtics against the 6-seeded Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the 76ers have been struggling as of late, and with an injury keeping Ben Simmons out of this series, I don't think they'll be able to keep up with a very deep Boston Celtics team. I'm picking the Celtics in 6 games. And the final series of the first round in the Eastern Conference has the 2-seeded Toronto Raptors against the 7-seeded Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Nets have looked better as of late, and the Raptors often have a slow start going into the playoffs, so I think the Nets will be able to steal a game, but in the end, I think the Raptors are just too experienced and too well coached to have much trouble with the Brooklyn Nets. I'm taking the Raptors in 5 games. Now moving over to the Western Conference, our first series has the number 1 seeded Los Angeles Lakers against the 8th seeded Portland Trail Blazers. Now, the Lakers have been in a bit of a slump, while the Blazers, led by Damian Lillard, have been heating up recently, and I think they will give the Lakers a bit of a test. But in the end, the Lakers are just too talented not to find a way to wake up and win this series. I'm taking Los Angeles in 6 games. The next series has the 4-seeded Houston Rockets against the 5th-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder, and I think this is the closest matchup of the first round. This one really could go either way, especially with Russell Westbrook missing at least the first few games for the Rockets. But I think James Harden will find a way to put a team on his back and in the end win a very close matchup that I think goes all the way to a final and deciding 7th game. I'm picking the Rockets in 7. The next series has the 3-seeded Denver Nuggets against the 6th-seeded Utah Jazz. This could be another interesting and close series. The Jazz definitely are a talented team with some experience, but I think the Nuggets just have more depth, just have more top-end talent, and I think Jokic and company will be able to knock off the Utah Jazz in 6 games. And the final series of the first round has the 2-seeded Los Angeles Clippers against the 7-seeded Dallas Mavericks. Now, the upstart Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic, I think will be able to take a game or 2 off the Clippers, but the Clippers are just too deep of a team for the Mavericks to really cause them too much trouble, so I'm taking Los Angeles in 5 games. Now let's hop back over to the Eastern Conference for our second round matchups, with the first matchup of the second round between the 1-seeded Milwaukee Bucks and the 5th-seeded Miami Heat. The Heat are a solid team, but the Bucks are just too talented, and I think while, again, the Heat might be able to steal a game or 2, Milwaukee should be able to run through them pretty easily. I'm taking the Bucks in 5 games. The next matchup has the 3-seeded Boston Celtics against the 2-seeded Toronto Raptors, and I think this should be a very interesting series. Now, I know a lot of people would go with the Celtics on this one, but I really like this Toronto Raptors team. In the absence of Kawhi Leonard, they've really come together to put together a solid, just well-coached, all-around deep squad led by an emerging performance from Pascal Siakam. And while I think this series could go the distance, I think in a series that's almost a toss-up, the experience of Toronto should be enough to just slightly put them over the edge. I'm taking the Raptors in 7 games. Back over to our Western Conference second round matchups, we have the Los Angeles Lakers at the 1 seed taking on the Houston Rockets at the 4 seed. And I think the Rockets are a fun team who can definitely score, but they won't be able to keep up with LeBron, AD, and the rest of the Lakers. I have the Lakers winning this matchup in 6 games. And then our final series of the second round has the 3-seeded Denver Nuggets against the 2-seeded Los Angeles Clippers. The Nuggets are a very good team that I think are being slept on by a lot of people in the NBA right now, but in the end, they aren't going to be able to keep up with the high-flying Clippers. I'm taking Los Angeles in 5 games. So that means my Eastern Conference final, I'm predicting the number 1 seeded Milwaukee Bucks taking on the 2-seeded Toronto Raptors. And I think the Raptors, well, they could beat the Bucks last year, but this time I think Milwaukee gets their revenge. I think they'll really show the NBA that they mean business by exercising their playoff demons and knocking out the Raptors in 5 games to move on to the NBA Finals. And then out west, in the Western Conference Finals, I'm predicting a battle of Los Angeles between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Los Angeles Clippers. This should be a fun one. We've been looking forward to it the entire season, and this one could go down to the wire. Now, the Lakers have been probably the favorites all season. Everybody expects LeBron to take it to the next level, but as I mentioned earlier, they've really had their struggles as of late, and they've been slumping. While the Clippers, though they've also lost some games, I think Kawhi and Paul George will be able to take it to the next level in the playoffs. Now, LeBron could absolutely steal this series for the Lakers, but I think the Clippers will be the Los Angeles team that will be in the NBA Finals this year, and I see them upsetting LeBron and the Lakers and taking this series in 7 games. I'm picking the Clippers to advance to the NBA Finals in 7. So, that means that I am predicting your 2020 NBA Finals will come down to the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Clippers. And man, this would be a fun series. Giannis against Kawhi Leonard once again, and 2 very deep supporting casts around both of them, 2 well-coached teams. This would be an absolute battle, and man, would it be fun to watch. I am so excited for this potential series, and while it is very hard to predict, I think that the Milwaukee Bucks will be your 2020 NBA champions, knocking off the Los Angeles Clippers in 7 games. This is another series that could go the distance, and I think this would be a treat of an NBA Finals matchup. But in the end, I just think this Bucks team has what it takes to win a championship this year. Giannis will show the league that he really is the next superstar with a performance that could win him the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP. And I think he could get that done as well. So I'm taking the Bucks as your 2020 NBA champions. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of my predictions and also your own predictions for the NBA playoffs and who you think's going to bring home the title this year. Be sure to like this video if you're as excited as I am for the NBA playoffs to start up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you next time.